Hey, what's up everyone? My name is CollegeSportsREVIVED and I welcome you back to the College Hoops 2K Legacy Mode series featuring the legendary Coach Carter, as Season 2 of this Fordham series is right around the corner. However, Coach Carter will be the one in the spotlight today, as we're still in preseason and we'll be highlighting his recruiting board heading into Year 2 of this Fordham rebuild. If you guys have been here since the beginning, you should know how difficult recruiting was in the first year of Fordham Hoops, and of course limping to a 6-win, 20-loss campaign did not help matters in that regard. But for this rebuild to really take off and for us to have a chance at some of the recruits we're going to be highlighting today, we're going to have to win some ball games before these recruits take their talents to the Bronx. Before we highlight the potential Rams, let's take a gander at the current Fordham players and see who and what is leading us this summer. So here's the potential rotation for Season 2, and it's pretty crazy how fast the life of college sports comes and goes. In Year 1, we had a lot of youth, but seemingly overnight, we're met with 9 upperclassmen this season, with 4 of those being seniors. So over these next 2 seasons, our recruiting classes could make or break Coach Carter's tenure here at Fordham. Starters Stanton Scott and Kate Sorensen, 6-man Amir Holiday, and 7'2" rotational big Kosuke Takahashi will play their final years in Fordham this season. So now that we're up to date on what's going out, let's see what potential prospects Coach Carter will try to bring in as his high school search begins. As we start with a 6'1" point guard, Kiah Henry, a 4-star who's ranked top 50 nationally in this class. Henry is definitely the biggest fish to catch in our Season 2 target board. He's from New York City, and thanks to your guys' advice, I'm trying to keep our searches more centered around the tri-state area. We save more recruiting points that way. I've got some couple guys around the nation, but for the most part, trying to keep it in New York and New Jersey for this season and see how that treats me. So Henry would be the face of the franchise immediately here in Fordham. We are a team that struggled very mightily on the offensive side of the floor in Season 1. And Henry has the upside to lead this Fordham team in scoring as a freshman. That's the upside with this kid. He posted almost 14 points per game, making over half his shots on his senior season in high school. He made 11 threes in 29 attempts, marking in at 38%, with his only real weakness being his free throw shooting. Getting to the line isn't the issue for Kiah. 38 attempts is very impressive considering an ABL season is 8 games long, so that's nearly 5 free throws a night, but he hovers around 60% from the charity stripe. And while he won't break any assist records, he does know how to set guys up, mostly because of his incredible ball handle abilities. His assist to turnover ratio is 2-to-1 roughly, not bad for an 18-year-old. He's also not the most energetic defender, but he does like to use his wheels to hit the gas and score off his deflections and cause a little bit of havoc. Henry would be an incredible 3-level scorer with the skills as a college senior already. I mean, he's well above his years, he is nurtured, and he is a very mature player already. And he could easily give this team an offensive identity and honestly be the face of the franchise. Henry's only priority is playing time, and clearly Henry would be a day 1 starter, so we're going to try to sell that to him. Right now we're 8th in the race, not too far behind schools like St. John's and Penn State. I think we might have a pretty decent shot at Henry. Target number 2 is a 6'5" wing from Jacksonville, Florida. Another top 100 recruit, it's Justin Cochran. If our number 1 prospect, Kiah Henry, is the best offensive player on our board, number 2 is probably the best defensive player we have targeted. That's right, Justin Cochran is one of a kind on defense. He kind of reminds me of a rich man's Luke Lawton. I'm sure you guys remember Luke Lawton back in the UT Martin series if you watched that. He was a world recruit from New Zealand who turned into a perfect glue guy at the ring. He was a stout defender who never shied away from doing the dirty work, and we won some big games because of Lawton's abilities. I call Cochran the rich man's version of Luke because outside of the occasional corner 3, we knew Lawton's defensive ceiling wasn't very high. I think his career high in points was maybe 7.5 on his senior year average, but Cochran is a dead eye under his feet. If you see that icon, you'll see it if you look closely. His mid-range is superb. That's what that tells you. Whether off a screen or off the bounce, Cochran is a pretty knockdown shooter inside the arc. Finding his shot, however, is a skill he needs to improve on, but when he does, his ceiling is 10 plus points per game. And I mean, hey, he posted 8 per game as a high school senior in only 19 minutes. Everything else about Justin falls into place At 6'5", he led his high school team in rebounds at over 8 per night, 2 steals, 1 block, and his potential on defense is probably worth his 4-star caliber on its own. We still need some more contact with Justin to figure out his priorities. We don't have that information yet, but it's safe to say that one of them has to be playing at a big program because, as you see, joining Fordham in his top 5 is Florida, LSU, Georgia, and Clemson. So perhaps this is one we have to wave the white flag on. Clearly, my boy Justin wants to play at a big-time program. Now, I got a comment on a few videos back, thought it was a great idea to implement in this year's and next year's class. I'm about to introduce you to the first of a couple of familiar faces on Coach Carter's recruiting board this season. Number 3 prospect is Kenyon Stone, a 6'7" wing from Richmond High School, just on the outside looking in of being a top 100 prospect this season. Stone is a jack of all trades. We haven't had a lot of wing scoring on this team, and with Evangelo Higgins' struggles last season after he moved to the 3, this is a quiet issue we should try to find a fix for, some scoring at that 3 position. Safe to say, Kenyon could be the solution. He's a very high character guy. He's a dead eye off the dribble, but he's also very sneaky off the ball. That's where he really makes his money. When it comes to backdoor cuts or the dribble drive ability, curling off screens, Kenyon is a spectacle on O. And with his A- speed and B quickness in his grades, that may be part of the reason why he's so hard to guard away from the ball. His number 1 priority is getting good coaching, so you'd hope he'd favor Coach Carter for obvious reasons. He played for him in high school, but it's not helping us on his interest list as UNC, UVA, and Georgetown are his top 3. Perhaps Kenyon's looking to play in the ACC instead of the A10, so to keep an eye on that. For prospect number 4, if there's any former player that Coach Carter could have the best chance of scoring in this series, I think our best shot is athletic freak Junior Battle, a 6'10" center out of Richmond. Not only is his signature realistic, but his archetype fits as well. This kid's ceiling is sky high. Battle is a paint patroller with excellent anticipation when guards get into the paint. You won't see many floaters or layup attempts make it past Junior Battle successfully. On offense, Battle may be a little one-dimensional, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. He's an awesome lob finisher, and with his plus jumping ability, he makes it known when he's about to fly up to finish off a pass. Outside of that, you won't see him light up the score column all too much. However, he has been developing some semblance of a post game near the end of his senior year. That post look is coming in pretty nice for Junior Battle. The 3-star big fella's top priority is getting playing time from the get-go, and with Cade Sorensen in his final year as one of 4 seniors on this team, Coach Carter could promise Junior the starting job as long as he puts in the work and keeps his grades up. There has been some turbulence in the classroom in high school for Battle, but as college looms closer, he has been turning it around with his schoolwork, so no reason for concern there. It looks like 3 schools are becoming Junior's favorites, and that's A10 rival Temple, VCU, and Fordham. So let's throw the kitchen sink at Junior. I love what he could bring to the club. Definitely the type of guy that could change a losing culture. We're halfway through the list. We're at number 5, greeted by 6'1" Stevie Morton. This 3-star point guard is out of Atlanta, and you can call him a city boy a little bit with the way he plays, and that's backed up by his play on the floor. Morton could be the pass-first point guard we need to set up guys like Murphy and Evangelo Higgins. Most of Morton's highlights on offense come from his quick handle and flashy passes. His dribble is just so smooth, and he can set guys up quickly. But he's not just a showboating playmaker. Yes, he's a little flashy, but he combines that with his smarts of knowing how to find the angle to zip a pass inside to his teammate. He averaged over 4 assists per game to 2.3 turnovers on his senior year. And he also shows no fear when clashing the glass. Over 4 rebounds a game from a 6'1" point guard is awesome. And if you know anything about me, I love guards who can rebound. It's such an underrated part of the game in my opinion. But Morton's defense is also worth noting as well. He's great at staying in front of guys. Really tough defender, this one. He's the type of defensive specialist that needs the eye test to see his value on that end. He only averaged about 1 steal per game, but like I said, he's just one of those guys where defense doesn't tell the full story in terms of stats, you know what I'm saying? Stevie Morton does need some work in the scoring column. He needs some fine-tuning whenever it comes to scoring a little bit. And it's not the fact that he doesn't know how to score. He can. It's more about his IQ when trying to score. He was well below average efficiency-wise, 34% from the floor and only 28% from three. And it's a pretty high volume of shots he's been taking on his senior campaign. This is something that can get ironed out in a college system, but it's just something to keep in mind. Mouton wants PT and he wants a good coaching staff, so again, his priorities do fit Fordham, I should say, as the Rams clock in at number 5 for Mouton's services, with Davidson leading the pack, but we're not too far behind. So we're going to go back to the front court for prospect number 6. It's Bennett Pinkala, a 6'9" senior coming from only a couple minutes south of us in Brooklyn. This 3-star big has pretty interesting skills. He's got an unorthodox style of play, but it's an interesting one. We'll start with his scoring approach, where you're going to see Pinkala has a decent sized bag of tricks to score inside 15 feet. He's pretty comfortable taking guys off the dribble. I believe his handle rating is an A-, which obviously these ratings are position dependent, but A- for a big is still going to be pretty good from day one. And inside the post, you're going to see a pretty interesting quirk. This is one of the things I alluded to earlier. Despite being right-handed, Pinkala is actually more comfortable scoring with his left hand in the post. You're going to see in these highlights, he goes to his left a lot more than his right, which is pretty unique. Pinkala scored just under 10 points in 20 minutes a game on his senior year, 44% shooting, and perhaps we'll see a bump in percentage if he becomes less predictable and starts to go with both hands on his scoring opportunities. He's a pretty average rebounder, around 6 per game, but you wonder how much he offers on defense. He's pretty good with positioning. He plays one pass away well, but with less than half a block a game averaged, he's not exactly going to be a shot changer at the next level on the defensive end. Pinkala's requests are playing time and getting good coaching, as Fordham ranks 4th behind St. John's, Yale, and MR State, I'm not really sure. I've been seeing MRST on a few of these prospects, and I can't for the life of me figure out what school that is. So if you know, definitely leave that down in the comment section for me. Next up, we have a lanky 6'3" guard just over Toms River out of Jersey City, Matthew Buckendal. He's another point guard who could add some playmaking on this team. However, we don't have a great read on his true point guard ability just yet because he played next to a 5-star point guard on his high school team, so Buckendal found himself playing a lot more 2 guard as a senior. But being able to create from the wing after the offense already started up, it seemed to have fit better for Matthew, as he averaged over 4 assists from that shooting guard position as a senior. Decision making is a bit of a question, however. 3.5 turnovers a game is a number you'd like to see shrink as a college player. Buckendal was a nice offensive piece on his ABL team. He wasn't in the spotlight, but he still posted 9 points per contest on 41% shooting. Buckendal is a volume 3-point scorer as well, with 31 attempts in his 8-game season. That's almost 4 a game, and he made 12, so that's 38.7% from downtown. They have him listed at 6'3", but after seeing him play in person, he looks closer to 6'4" in my opinion, and his frame and wingspan helps him in a lot of ways, shooting included. He has a nice and high release point as a jumper, and he's not the best athlete, but his length does let him force a lot of deflections and extra possessions for his team, and his rebounding was solid on both ends as well. Buckendal seemed to be a stat sheet stuffer, 9 points, 3.5 rebounds, 4 assists, 2 steals, good percentages, and if he works on his decision making and gets in the weight room a little bit, I think he'll be a very productive college player in a lot of different aspects. But speaking of weight room, that will be very important because another weakness is that he kind of shies away from contact. You won't see him challenging defenders at the rim all that much, as he only took 9 free throws in 8 games on his senior year. Buckendal likes feeling wanted as his only priority, so whatever school puts him first and pursues him the most may be the top interest moving forward, with Fordham ahead of the competition for his services. Long Island and Fairfield trail the Rams. Craig Stone is our second interest from Atlanta, a 3-star forward who stands at 6'7", and he has a pretty solid offensive game to him. You'll see immediately that Stone has the upside to be a legit scoring option the second he walks on a college campus. He's a low speed but high IQ type of scorer, beating defenses with his work away from the ball out of his hands. He's constantly moving and made plenty of shots with defenders in his face when he had to. Craig Stone posted 11.5 points on 45% shooting and added 7 threes on only 14 tries from downtown, so perhaps you'd like to see him shoot more from behind the line. Outside of his offensive abilities, you do wonder what Stone can add to a college roster. Like I said, he won't wow you with athleticism. In fact, he's graded right now with below average speed and quickness. His court vision is lacking a little bit, and he did average 4 rebounds a game, but was a so-so defender through the eye test in person watching him play, as he nearly got beat a few times when his man was away from the ball. Our decision on whether or not to pursue Stone is probably all based on his upside as an overall scorer. If his arsenal translates to the college game, he may be worth a shot, but if he's only the occasional shooter and not really much else that complements it, you gotta wonder if this is even a scholarship that's worth giving out. We don't know his priorities just yet, but we're sitting in 3rd place in Craig Stone's recruiting race, as Georgia State and Western Kentucky outpaced Fordham at this point in the season. Prospect number 9 is someone I didn't find until the APL season has concluded. He's a 6'5" wing from Brooklyn, Courtney Valentine. Since we didn't see him in person, we have a lot less, tape and information on Valentine compared to our other targets. And at 6 points per game, 3.5 rebounds, and around 40% shooting, his numbers won't blow anybody away, of course, but what we do have are some intriguing grades. His letter grades are actually pretty solid for what we know. A- layup, B- speed, C dunk, B- strength. Valentine may be a project player, but we have the opportunity here to develop an awesome slashing wing, depending, of course, what we find out later on for the rest of his grades. And he's also, having a guy like this, it's something to keep in mind at the end of our board if things go bad with other options near the top. With no priorities known yet, Fordham is number 1 in the race for Valentine, as he seems to be a very solid backup option for this class, and we're already number 1, so we don't have to do a lot of heavy lifting here. If other guys don't pan out, we have a guy who has some awesome slashing grades and has some upside to find out about. And finally, number 10, Jerron Willis, or as his friends call him, Worm Willis, a 5'11" point man from Richmond High. Worm has a swagger to his game that can ignite a team to play up with an opponent. He's a known trash talker from his area, and obviously Coach Carter, he had the reins to him in high school, and his style does not really mesh with that, but Worm is the type of guy where if you give him some respect, he'll give it back to you. So I'm sure Coach won't have an issue letting him draw a little bit as long as his Worm stays focused on the task at hand. He's got some decent handles and court vision, but that might be all that he can offer at the college level. He's not a bad shooter and tallied a big scoring night here and there back in high school, with the mid-range area being his best spot on the floor. But his consistency was definitely an issue. Worm does like playing some hard-nosed defense, especially when Coach Carter lets him talk some trash. And for only being 5'11", he knows how to close out bigger shooters, and he has some skills on D. We'll probably exit this race pretty soon though. VCU and Pitt are starting to run away for my guy Worm. They're starting to run away with the race a little bit here at the end. So if you didn't see your favorite Coach Carter character here this season in the recruiting races, don't worry. I got 3 more guys from Richmond who are high school juniors right now. Jason Lyle, my man Timo Cruz, awesome shooter, and Coach Carter's son Damian, as these guys will surely highlight our board next season, and we'll be following their recruiting races a year from now. So that brings us to the end of the Season 2 Prospect preview show, if you will, and always have a fun time making these. And the next time you see me, we'll be opening up Underdogs on the road for the 2nd straight season, this time against Utah State over in their gym. It's one of the most underrated environments in college basketball. I'm super excited to play there, win or loss. It's going to be in a really hectic environment. We got to stay focused, stay composed, and we might be able to hang with a very talented WAC team. So I always have a fun time making videos like this. They're a little bit more time consuming, but always a lot of fun when they finally start to come together, and this one was no exception. So the next time you see me, obviously we'll be tipping off Season 2 at Utah State, and I'm very excited for it, and I hope you guys are too. So we'll finally see this Season 2 roster in action. As I'm signing out for today, guys, we're gonna have the season preview show and the Utah State game in the next episode. Can't wait for that, and I hope you guys are on the edge of your seat for that one. So I'm signing out for today. Hope you guys have a great day. This is College Sports Revived, and I'll see you guys next time. Have a great one, guys, and be safe out there, and stay tuned for more College Hoops 2K Legacy Mode action featuring our main man, Coach Carter. See you guys around.